Hi everybody, welcome to Chapter 7, Families and Delinquency. I'm Dr. Sirianni. Okay, families and delinquency. There are problems in the family that contribute to delinquency. Because most theories of delinquency rely heavily on the parent and the parent-child relationship and parenting practices to explain delinquency in itself. So, socialization. A youth's conduct, including delinquency, is predominantly influenced by peers or group socialization. And there's a theorist, her name is Judith Rick Harris. She maintained that the relationship between parental socialization and child outcomes is largely due to the genes that are shared between parent and offspring. So she's saying that the first causation that we've discussed in previous lectures, that genetics is of paramount concern, or we can point to that, that's the primary causation. The process by which individuals come to internalize their culture. Through this process, an individual learns the norms, sanctions, and expectations of being a member of a particular society. So, family factors, such as broken homes, birth order, family size, and we'll cover all these in a moment, but these are important factors that can lead, I say can, to delinquency. Quality of the home, family rejection, discipline in the home. So we point back to environmental causation. Now remember the previous theorist, Judith, she said that it was predominantly genetic predisposition. Well, let's look at one's environment. Perhaps that's the cause. And here's the family factors: the birth order, family size, delinquent siblings. Well, is the older brother or sister, are they in prison? Are they in jail? Do they have a good role model as a parent to not only distract, but guide kids in the right direction? Don't follow your older brother or sister's path. Learn from it, but don't follow it. And then family rejection, and then discipline, or as it says, inadequate supervision has been found to explain delinquent behavior too. So, too much and lack thereof needs to be a fine line. So foster families. The foster family, the adopted child, children with lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender parents and cohabitating parents provide other family contexts for children. I really believe that it's a case-by-case basis. Who's to say that if someone is lesbian or gay that they're not wonderful parents? How is that? How can that be attributed to a child not developing correctly? I would say that it can't be. It's about nurture and nature. Foster care can be defined as a 24-hour substitute for care outside of their own homes. And their settings include, but not limited to, relative foster homes, non-relative foster homes, emergency shelters, and so forth. So, the mass media. I know we think of the mass media as of late as anti-police, but it can also be attributed, according to theorists, as a major causation for delinquency as well. And what I'm referring to is the internet, radio, television, commercial motion pictures, and so forth, newspaper, journals, and magazines, Netflix, music, newspapers, and music. So the question is the internet to blame? So one source of internet-initiated crime is the supremacist and hate groups that target young people on the web. Of course, youthful perpetrators of violent crimes are sometimes influenced by information they collect on the internet. Let's face it, kids are on the internet all the time. Mine are older in that they live and die by YouTube and what they see. Not die, but they love it, let's just say. And they become victims sometimes, especially the younger ones, of sexual abuse when contacts are made through the web by sexual predators. And here's a stat: as of 2015, accounts for up to 4% of all arrests for sexual assaults against juveniles. All right, so neglect and abuse. Neglect and child abuse contribute to delinquency. That's a fact. They have a profound influence on shaping the behavior and attitudes of adolescents and adults. So what's neglect? How you define it? I'm sure you said a disregard for physical, emotional, or moral needs of children. And I'm sure you added that child neglect, because it's in your book, involves a failure of the parent or caregiver to provide nutritious food, adequate clothing, and sleeping arrangements, essential medical care, sufficient supervision, access to education, and normal experiences that produce feelings of being loved, wanted, secure, and worth. So, how would you define child abuse? Again, I'm sure you defined it as mistreatment of children by parents or caregivers. And physical abuse is intended behavior directed towards a child or by the parent or a caregiver to cause pain, injury, or in some cases death. Emotional abuse, however, involves a disregard of a child's psychological needs, which is equally as damaging sometimes. And then sexual abuse is any intentional and wrongful physical contact with a child that entails a sexual purpose or component. So what are the long-term consequences of neglect and abuse? Well, here's some stats. Being abused or neglected as a child increased the likelihood of arrest as a juvenile by 59%, as an adult by 29%, for a violent crime by 30%. And maltreatment, children were younger at the time of their first arrest, committed nearly twice as many offenses. And at the bottom, abused and neglected females were also, same as the other bullet, which pertained to boys, females were also at risk. All right, so this is a case, if you will, that I show when I'm teaching live, so I'm not going to have you watch the whole video. But there are long-term consequences of neglect and abuse. For one instance is Eileen Wuornos. She was a serial killer in the late 80s in the state of Florida. So she was born February 29th, 1956 in Rochester, Michigan. She was sexually abused and thrown out of her home as a teen. Having been involved in previous incidents with the law, she made a living as a sex worker on Florida's highways. And in 1989, she killed a man who had picked her up. She went on to kill at least 5 other men and was eventually caught, convicted, and placed on death row. Though her sanity was questioned, Wuornos was executed by lethal injection in 2002, and they made a movie, 2003, called Monster. So there's trailers out there. There's all types of YouTube videos. So you may be interested to write about hers for your critical thinking paper. Just an option. All right, if you notice a click or an interruption, people are working outside the door here. I just paused it for a second. Okay, the root of the problem. Let's get to the root. An estimated 1,740 children died due to child abuse or neglect. And 31.9% of child fatalities were attributed to neglect only, but physical abuse was also a major contributor. This is all data as of 2015. 80% of the children who died because of child abuse and neglect were younger than 4 years old, and that's really sad. Infant boys younger than 1 year had the highest rate of fatalities, almost 20 deaths per 100,000 boys at the same age in the nation. It's staggering, truly. Infant girls, similar numbers. Our kids are in trouble. How do we prevent it? What do we do? Well, interventions can help to prevent and reduce the extent of child abuse and neglect. Of course, the earlier the better. Don't continue to neglect neglected children. One size does not fit all. And interventions are not one-time efforts. You see the bottom left there's a lady, sergeant, police officer. You know, it rests on our shoulders, folks. Sometimes it does. Sometimes the parents or caregivers, they can't take care of kids, or they won't, or they're unable at the time. They're just not good parents. So we'll cover the term. It's in Latin in a moment when the state takes over. But sometimes you just got to step in as a criminal justice professional and offer that help, because there are resources. There are human services, there are social services, whatever term your municipality calls it, there are outlets to help kids and help families. All right, so as of 2015, it says 2012, but this goes on to 2015. It's a number still going down. The number of substantiated cases of child sexual abuse in the United States. And we see since 2000, there was a few dips in 2003. But as a whole, there's a 62% decline. That's not enough. It should be zero. It should be at a zero. That graph should be pegged out as nothing, because one is too many. All right, breaking the ice a little bit. I know it's kind of crass humor, but I found this and I thought I would share it since we're all criminal justice professionals. We can get a good chuckle out of it. My first DUI. Breathalyzer, reverse alphabet practice card, handcuffs, beer making kit. It's got a breathalyzer in the front, handcuffs, and a Jägermeister t-shirt. Just stuff they come up with, I'll tell you what. All right, moving on. As you know, this will be one video, but it'll be posted in both chapters. You need to watch one half, respond as part of your assignment, and then now watch this half with the other. Okay? Chapter 8, Schools and Delinquency. So, the American education system. We need to know about our history. We learn from it. We learn from our mistakes. We improve on our successes. So history is important. So during most of the 19th century, U.S. schools were chaotic, violent places. Teachers really didn't do a very good job. They didn't deal with the unruly and unmanageable children, and either they let them go with a laissez-faire attitude, or they were over aggressive. School crime. Crime in the schools is a serious problem. It has been. It's becoming more of a problem, and look at the school shootings that we've seen. I can't honestly rationalize it. To me, it just doesn't make sense. In my generation, I wouldn't even imagine, and I'm sure all of you can't even imagine how could someone think along these lines to take a gun into a school and harm kids. But it's happening. And crime, other related crime, is on the rise too. Violence, vandalism, drug trafficking, gangs, and so forth. Well, bullying is no exception. Bullying consists of such direct behaviors as teasing, threatening, taunting, hitting, stealing against a weaker foe. In addition to such direct attacks, bullying may also be more indirect. And we'll cover that in a moment, such as cyberbullying. It's unwanted aggression, sometimes by a group, sometimes by just one individual. But what makes it bullying, it's bad enough when it's one time, but it's the continual events that occur that accumulate. And it makes you wonder about these school shootings. Were some of the kids bullied, and were they acting out? I guess in some instances we might not know. And bullying can include aggression that is physical, hitting or tripping, verbal, name calling, and so forth. Who's at risk? Different factors can increase the youth's risk of engaging or experiencing bullying. However, the presence of these factors does not always mean that a juvenile will bully others or be bullied. Kind of a disclaimer. Some of the factors associated with a higher likelihood of engaging in bullying behavior include externalizing factors such as deviant, disruptive behavior. And you want to ask yourself why. What's causing this? Harsh parenting by caregivers. Are they acting out? Are they reciprocating the violence they receive at home on other kids? And sometimes just attitudes accepting of violence. Is it brought on by the media, which we covered, such as violent video games, fighting, movies? Who knows? But there are factors for consideration. But we can also point to poor peer relationships. Are they poor because they don't have good friends? Are they poor because they've chosen, maybe because of their weakness, to assimilate into a gang or other crime groups, kids that go out there and cause criminal mischief? Poor decisions, perhaps. Do they have low self-esteem? Are they perceived by their peers as different or quiet and thus picked on? And how can we prevent this? Of course, we got to try to stop it before it starts. And there's all kinds of programs out there that have some promise, such as improved supervision of students, school rules, and consequences. Well, rules are great, but they have to be enforced, and there have to be serious consequences for violating them. A whole school anti-bullying policy, enforcing that policy consistently, and getting experts and professionals from all different walks of life in a conjoined effort to address not only the problem, but stand behind each other and say, if you do this, you're going to deal with the consequences. From law enforcement to the district attorneys to perhaps judges, counselors, probation, parole, and the list goes on. And as I mentioned, cyberbullying, we can't forget about that. It's a form of teen violence that can do lasting harm. Using technology, cell phones, the internet, kids have killed themselves because of this. They believe that they're affected wholeheartedly by the effects of cyberbullying, that the only resort sometimes they feel is to commit suicide, unfortunately. And once things have circulated on the internet, not only can they never disappear and resurface at other times, but they cause lifelong effects, lifelong damage. So school failure. And these kids, sometimes the lack of academic achievement, low status, social status, no friends, dropping out. And it leads to academic incompetence, and you see the flow chart. We're going to cover that in more detail here in a second. But in the end, the commission of delinquent acts. Most major theories of delinquency see the school as a factor contributing to delinquent behavior. Yes, I agree, to a point. The school is a contributing factor, okay? I should underline contributing. It's sometimes too easy for society, for parents, everybody to point, well, the school didn't do this, if the school did that. Well, come on. And there's a lot of theories, and I implore you to read these theories in your textbook. Of course you are going to, because you're responsible to do so, because your quiz, which will be based on this lecture as well as your readings, you will need to know these theories. And they help you understand the contributions and to delinquency in schools. So read them, please. Dropping out. And this is some staggering data that I'm going to show you as of 2015. There's a correlation between dropping out of high school and crime. The students tend to drop out of high school for 4 reasons. Academic failure, disinterest in school, which can be attributed to the first bullet. So they're not doing well in courses, now they're not interested, and now poor attendance because they're not interested. They lash out, get in trouble, and then perhaps other factors such as getting a job, becoming pregnant, caring for an ill member, that can have an effect. But there are consequences for dropping out. For example, in the last 20 years, earning levels of dropouts, okay, you'll see a difference here. Here's money talks. Recent dropouts will earn $200,000 less than high school graduates over their lifetime, and over $800,000 less than college graduates. I'm so glad you're here. I know it's not all about the money, but you need money to survive and to have a secure retirement. So it's important. Keep up with your school. Dropouts comprise nearly half of all heads of households on welfare. They comprise nearly half of the nation's prison population. Goodness. So here are some successes in the intervention process. And the top one, I like the fact that your book put mentoring on top. That's where you can step in. Be that voice, be that guide, be that counselor. And at the end here, I'm going to show you a video that just illustrates this bubble to a T. Okay? Students' rights. The school's authority over students comes from two principal resources. And this is important. You need to know these factors. Not only you need to know them because they're part of your future career, but you might see them on the quiz. The concept of in loco parentis and state enabling statutes. So, in loco parentis, the principle in which a guardian or an agency is given the rights and duties and responsibilities of a parent in relationship to a child. So, sometimes the parent is unable to care for their child, perhaps temporarily. Sometimes the parent is not fit. Perhaps a child is neglected, abused. The state steps in loco parentis. Now, state enabling statutes, they authorize local school boards to establish reasonable rules and regulation for operating the schools. There has to be rules, folks. You know, we're law enforcement. Rules are there for a reason. They have to be enforced. And as I said, I wanted to show you this video. I had a great career. Part of it was when I was a school resource officer. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed interacting with the kids. And, well, let's just show you the video. We'll talk about it after.
Well, good morning. My name's Russ Swift. I'm a school resource officer here at the school, and I guess I'll show you guys what my normal day's like. Well, you look nice. How you doing, buddy? High five. Cheer up, but it's not the end of the world. It's halfway through the week. Usually what I like to do is I come in and I walk the halls and keep track of kids. And hey, Tyler, how you doing, man? You gonna play basketball next year? Come on, man. I need you. Anyway, I like to talk to kids, greet them, say hey, find out what they're doing. Sometimes I help them with homework a little bit. Yeah, just to make sure you know what to do about getting, okay, not a love note or anything good, so I can throw it away. So, you know, I try to be friendly with them and try to get to know them good. Hey, guys. How you doing, buddy? All right, go put your stuff away. We've got about 650 kids here, and most of the stuff really at junior high is usually somebody hit me or somebody took my stuff, or iPods get stolen, cell phones get stolen, a lot of bullying, harassment, intimidation type stuff. How you doing? Let me see what you're listening to. Let's do an oral check here.
Oral check?
Yeah. What do you got? Give me something. Give me your best shot. Give me something you think I'll like.
You gotta know this one.
Haha, you rock, dude. David Bowie, good man. All right. That's good. How's it going? You ready? Where's that tie?
What?
Where's that tie at?
Oh, I need to give you a note.
Sometimes there's traffic issues out here. I've tried to get people trained not to pull up out of there on the busy street to let kids off, but it still happens from time to time. Occasionally there might be a traffic accident. We had one a couple months ago where a kid on a bicycle got hit out here by the front thing, but he didn't get hurt. I'm going to give you a statement form and have you just write that down for me, okay? And I will call up a picture of him and get him down here, and I'll talk to him about it today. Your parents know about it? So that last with that student was it was basically a telephone harassment. Another student sent her kind of a threatening text on her phone, and I've been talking to him about using telephones to harass and annoy and stuff.
Cyberbullying,
She had a previous incident, so I'm gonna
perhaps.
take a report probably now and document it, and I'll have to talk to the other kid. Kind of hard not to notice it, okay? What we're going to do right now is I'm going to do a class on laws, rules, and responsibility. We're going to talk about the Bill of Rights and Constitution a little bit and amendments and stuff like that, so how it affects laws. Responsibility and laws and rules, our rights to privacy, property, and basically our personal protections under the Constitution. If you know your American history, they risked everything, literally everything, to tell King George and the British to go pound sand. What do you like to do? I know you're a driver now. If you're guilty of something, the government can't make you tell them you're guilty. Hey, this is Officer Swift. This is for the 9th graders. Just if you guys can listen up for a second. I know you're thinking about getting your driver's licenses. Just be responsible, do it safely, and protect your privilege. And come and see me before you drive to school. Thanks. I'm getting ready right now to go pull a student from class that got in trouble on a field trip yesterday and had a little bit of a meltdown. To have a little talk with her about behavior, making choices and stuff, then get her back to class. So you have to filter your way through that to try to convince them that you just want friends, okay? Bearing in mind that there's always going to be some tension. She broke off the friendship with him, but he continues to text her. He texted her for a while, and then when she told him to stop it, he quit, and then he started again. So what's the deal? Huh? You got to keep yourself out of trouble. And the way you keep yourself out of trouble is to think about what you're doing, think about how people are going to perceive things. Okay, what that was one of the female students got a text message from a male student, kind of what sounded like it might have been a threat, or it was just maybe not really a threat, but uncomfortable, could be considered, telephone harassment. So my job is to talk to the kid, find out what he might have intended by that. What are you doing?
Are you sore today?
You been lifting?
Oh, yeah.
You're all sore?
No, I got over that.
Oh, look at that. You're
I wasn't even flexing at that.
a little pec pump. Flex up. What's that? A whole thing of bubble gum. I help enforce some of the school rules and stuff. I'm kind of like a counselor because I talk to them about things, life problems and stuff like that. And to me personally, I can't think of anything more fulfilling short of when I was in active duty in the Air Force. I enjoy the job. I like working with the kids. This is a group, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders that need a lot of, attention and stuff because they're still formulating their characters. They're not really who they're going to become yet. And I see my role is to help them to become good citizens and do things, the right way. Why do we have a Declaration of Independence anyway? The first one of these things that says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. So anyway, I think the thing that's important to remember is that it's hard to quantify exactly what it is that we do and how effective we are, because you can't put it on a graph of how many crimes you prevented, or how many wrong choices you prevented, or how many right choices my presence or the presence of other SROs caused kids to enact. So you can't put it on a graph, but I think we SROs working in the schools are making a huge impact on the behavior of the kids and helping turn them into good citizens. Maybe next year.
Good. I know. Maybe next year.
They got a new coach, so we'll see what happens.
They did.
Okay, well that takes it for my day as a school resource officer here. Now I move into my coaching role, and we got a basketball game, and so I'm Coach Swift now for the rest of the day. I use my time after I get off duty to coach these guys, and hopefully we'll get a win for our first night. Take care.
Okay. So use that badge. That badge stands for what? It stands for the community with whom you serve. You work for them, and that includes everyone, including the kids. What a great opportunity. If you're thinking about what you might do in your career, and you want to be a deputy or a police officer, and the opportunity arises where you can be an SRO, take it. I did. I'm so glad I did. Final thought, eye on the prize, folks. This semester is going to be wrapping up soon. For some of you, it's the end. For others, it's another step. And I kind of use the analogy that you're looking out over a horizon, and you start your academic career, you start college, and it's kind of dark, and it's scary. But as you move on, you see the sun start to come up. And I use that same analogy when I was working on my associates and then my bachelor's and my master's and then my doctorate. At the end, almost 10 years of school, that sun was shining bright, and that felt good. You'll get there, I promise. Get your work done. Start thinking about critical thinking papers. All right? Start thinking about it. You might want to look into Eileen Warnos and write a paper on her and think about the 3 causations. Just a suggestion. Let me know if you need help. All right, take care.